Hello and welcome. I'm Janvi Sen from The Wire, and with me today is Meetu Jain. Meetu is a senior journalist and she's recently done 2 articles, a 2-part series on the functioning of the Enforcement Directorate, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So to begin with, I just want to ask you, why did you do these stories? What drew you to it? Why are they important? Why are we talking about it now?
So the one reason why we decided to look at this whole thing, Janvi, is that the ED is in the news all the time, right? And somebody is going to the Supreme Court, politicians are petitioning the court, politicians are alleging that they are the ones who are being targeted by the ED and so on, and not without reason. So we decided, and everybody keeps talking about what happened to this case, that case.
Right.
It's been investigated for so many years. National Herald has been being investigated since 2014.
Yeah.
And Augusta Westland also since 14, so on. We decided to find out what really is, where do the investigations stand. We decided to go into the root of the story, so to say. So that's the reason. And in the course of this, we've made some very interesting discoveries. For example, in most of these cases, in some of the cases, the ED has not even filed a charge sheet. In some cases, the ED has just not gone beyond filing what's called a FIR, right? And the cases are being investigated for the past 10 years. So that was the main reason. And if you look at, for example, Augusta Westland, in that case, there's something very interesting that's happened in the Augusta Westland case. One of the discoveries we made is that the money, the alleged bribes in the Augusta Westland case, traveled from Italy to a company in Singapore. That company incidentally belongs to Gautam Adani, right? And the ED, and of course the name of that company called Godami International figures in the ED's 2 complaints that they filed in the court, and that money came to this company. So there is evidence with the ED that money to a Gautam Adani company came from Augusta Westland. In 2016, the ED sends a letter rogatory to Singapore. Letter rogatory is basically finding a letter of request asking for details.
Right.
Singapore responds, and then after that, Godami International, that company that belongs to Gautam Adani, disappears from the ED complaints. In the National Herald case, which is again another very interesting story, the petitioner is Subramaniam Swamy.
Right.
That case has not been heard for the past 13 months, because Subramaniam Swamy, the petitioner, has gone and taken a stay in his own case. Interestingly, there have been, I think, about 10 hearings where he is being cross-examined, because this is a private complaint. You have to be cross-examined before a case can finally be registered, right? Subramaniam Swamy, out of 10 hearings, he was absent in 6 because he's attending some BJP, convention, something or the other, some seminar, etc. He refused to come for his own cross-questioning for that case that he is so actively pursuing. I mean, so there are so many of these cases, so it was interesting as to what really is happening, and it was important to go into the depth of these stories.
Right. I think one of the things also you mention in your story itself is that on the ED website, they talk of having a very high conviction rate of 96%. Sorry.
Correct.
But then you say something quite interesting right after that. I'm going to let you elaborate.
Okay, so this 96% conviction rate is based out of 24 cases, right? Ever since the Enforcement Directorate has been created, we are seeing 24 convictions, all right?
Right.
Out of 25.
Yeah.
Of course, the ED doesn't tell you that these are 24 individuals, cases, entities. We don't know that. But what's more important than the conviction rate is, so 25 out of 24 is of course 96%, but it hides more than it reveals. For the past 10 odd years, 9 years actually, from 14 to 22, the number of searches that the ED did, that percentage went up by, now hold your horses on this, 2,555%.
Wow.
Okay. Since 2018 till 22, the number of cases registered by the ED has gone up by 505%. And about 96 odd percent of these cases are have been registered against the opposition. So that was again very interesting, and yeah, and the ED says that, they have a paucity of resources, so therefore they have to kind of keep their investigations limited.
Right.
But as you can see, it's like, they're
Not
spreading
translating.
spreading themselves out rather thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the heart of your story is this technical circular from February 2020.
Correct.
Which claims that it's like you said, streamlining the number of cases and kinds of cases it takes up because of the limited resources and things like that. But what you argue is that it's not quite doing that. In fact, it's granting.
It's just the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about the circular?
Yeah. So like the circular is just one part of the story. The circular, for example, says because of the ED's paucity of resources, they are going to limit the activities. So they're going to be looking at, for example, cases where the amount in the metros is at least 10 crore and more, and in other cities is 1 crore, right? That's the amount of that can be investigated under PMLA. Now, I mean, there's no such no such limitation set by the PMLA Act under which the ED is governed.
Yeah.
So it's rather strange. Like if you are an ordinary person and this is PMLA and you are in Delhi, and if you've committed a crime of, say, where the money involved is about, say, 7 crore, then will you get away with it? I mean, this is very unusual.
Yeah.
And I guess keeping that in mind, if you remember in Bangalore, there was this BJP MLA, who was arrested by the Lokayukta police.
Right.
In that case, the amount involved was 8 crore. And the metro we are talking about is Bangalore. I guess that's the reason why they did not investigate that case.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's also because of the BJP, but maybe the amount was 8 crore, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
They also say that, if it's a commercial quantity of drugs that are found, I mean, only in that case will they investigate a crime, right?
Right.
In the Riya Chakravarti case, if you remember, that case has of course fallen flat, the Sushant Singh Rajput suicide case. That case has fallen flat. Riya Chakravarti was accused of drug peddling, etc., etc. But was that a commercial quantity? No. But the ED nevertheless went ahead and registered a case.
Right.
Again, where the PMLA Act is concerned, if it is only like 1 crore and above, then the person can be kept in custody, right? If it is less than 1 crore, then bail is immediately granted, right? So when I say 1 crore has to be the amount for the predicate offense, right? Predicate is the primary offense. So a law enforcement agency like the CBI or the police can file a case where they say this is the amount of money that's been found and that is the predicate offense. In the INX media case, which involves the Chidambarams, Mr. P. Chidambaram is accused by the CBI, right? So the agency which is filing the predicate offense, that is the CBI, says that the amount involved is 9,96,000 rupees, right? Not even 10 lakh rupees.
Yeah.
So the ED by law should be investigating this 9,96,000. They have gone ahead and made out a case of over 3 CR because in another case, in another business dealing between Karti Chidambaram and another company, there was this money that came in, is what the ED says. Now, he supposedly met that person in 2007, but the INX case starts in 2008.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a kind of unusual. In the National Herald case, again, ED has so far not gone ahead and filed a charge sheet, what is called a complaint. What they've done is they've only filed a ECIR, right? ECR is equal to FIR.
Yeah.
Now, in that, of course, the Gandhis are being called every now and then, etc., etc. That's besides the point, and of course, information is being leaked to the media. But what really is the predicate offense? A, there's no predicate offense, right? So, therefore, the ED can't actually get into the National Herald case. Now, the National Herald case is based on a very strange, situation. In 2015, the ED had issued one more circular, right? Where they had said that if a court takes cognizance, right, or if the court issues a summon, then the person can then the ED can take cognizance of the case.
Get involved.
Now, that's very unusual. Like, I can file a case against you and I can say you've done this, and the court can ask you, serve you a notice. In a situation like that, the ED can get in, which is exactly what happened. I mean, it's on the basis of a summons issued by a lower court at the behest of a petition filed by Subramaniam Swamy. The Gandhis were summoned. There was no predicate offense. And like I said, Subramaniam Swamy has taken a stay on his own case, right? And he, of course, never bothered to appear for most of the cross questioning that was supposed to be done for him. He refused to follow the Evidence Act, and because the court told him you have to follow the Evidence Act, and basically what the court told him is that whatever you are doing, you are just delaying the process of this case.
Yeah.
So the allegation against Subramaniam Swamy was, and it has been proved by the fact that he's taken a stay in the case, was that he's dragging his feet on the case. Now let's come back to the predicate offense in the National Herald case.
Right.
What is the predicate offense? There's no predicate offense. So has any agency actually come out with any kind of a calculation of any kind of a loss? There is income tax. Now, a few years ago, I had done a story on this very subject, and the income tax had made out a notional loss of some less than 40 lakh rupees. So that can be the only predicate offense against the Gandhis, if you're looking at any kind of a loss. Of course, it's not money laundering, it's income tax evasion. So it's unusual, like the ED is not even following the PMLA Act. It says you have to follow the predicate offense. ED is not doing that. In the National Herald case, in so many other cases, they are not following the predicate offense. And again, the circular talks of a whole lot of other issues, but the sense that I wanted to give in talking about this circular is that the ED is not following what it had set out to do, and of course it gives the director really unbridled powers.
Of what kind?
In the sense that he can, in national interest, in public interest, he can go ahead and file a case against anybody. Now that doesn't work that way. There has to be a predicate offense, right? A predicate offense, again, like I said, is a law enforcement agency like the CBI or the NIA or the police has to file a case against you, and only then, if there is a bribe amount involved, can the ED get into the picture, right? That is not happening. In fact, I want to let me just see, I want to read out something that the courts had said,
Yeah, sure.
In the Sanjay Raut, if you know, the Patra Chaul case, right? So there was this very interesting judge called M.G. Deshpande. What he said is, and this is in the Patra Chaul case, the extraordinary pace with which the ED arrests an accused becomes not even a snail's pace in conducting trials, right? Once the applicant files bail applications, the ED takes at least 3 to 4 weeks or more to file their reply. In every matter, it is noticed that the ED takes very, very long time to file a reply to simple applications, right? The judge also said that ED is not accountable for such modus operandi. The word used against the ED is modus operandi. The ED is not accountable for such modus operandi availed by them in not beginning and concluding a single trial.
Right.
So, I mean, the ED is going ahead. It is attaching properties. The question I asked the ED is that you've attached, for example, so many properties worth, I don't know, thousands of crores of rupees. How many have you confiscated? Right? So now what's the importance of that? You've attached a property. The case has to, the property in which that, the case in which that property is being attached has to reach a logical conclusion. And once the ED finds that, yes, these are proceeds of crime, that property can be attached. Confiscated.
Right.
Not a single property has been confiscated till date. So it's essentially there's really nobody keeping the ED in check, and that's something we had to highlight.
Right. It's interesting you mentioned what the judge said in the Sanjay Raut's case, but recently when the opposition parties went to the Supreme Court about the ED and the CBI, the court basically said that we can't really take this up, especially when you're not really talking about any specific cases, you're just talking about the agency as a whole. And what would you say to A, that, and B, also people who say that, sure, maybe sometimes there are discrepancies in what they do, but overall what they're doing is trying to prevent corruption and we can't fault them for that.
I absolutely agree with you on this, that, you can't fault them, they're trying to prevent corruption. I'll answer that first. Okay, let's presume all politicians are, a bunch of crooks. Okay, let's go by that premise.
Sure.
Because every politician is a crook, you cannot penalize everyone. There is something called the rule of law. There is something called a law called PMLA by which you are governed, right? You have to follow that law, right? We are not a banana republic. We are a democracy so far. in a situation like this, what does the PMLA say? A predicate offense has to be 1 CR and above. If it is less than 1 CR, you get bail.
Yeah.
In so many cases, bail has not been granted. Even though it is, like, for example, in the Karti Chidambaram case, the Chinese visa case, as it is called, the amount involved is, the CBI says, is 50 lakhs. Right? If it's a 50 lakh thing, how is the, of course, the ED can investigate, but then, of course, they tried to arrest him, they decided not to. But essentially, the question is that where exactly do you stop? So whether it's a predicate offense, whether it is like Judge Deshpande said, like, the modus operandi you follow, like in the Nawab Malik case, of course, you need 60 days to file a complaint once the person is arrested. They filed a complaint within that stipulated time, but the court took notice, took cognizance of that complaint after, I think, about 5 weeks. Right? So till the court takes cognizance of that complaint and issues a notice, right? Can the accused be given a copy of that complaint, and can he after that only apply for bail? Of course, the court took cognizance of this after about 5 weeks, but then the courts shut for the summer break, right? So you had to wait for the summer break to be over. And even after that, it took about 5 months for the courts to take a call on Nawab Malik's bail plea. And the bail plea was rejected on the ground that one of the accused, the persons on the basis of whom the statement, on his statement, this whole case was registered, a guy called Sardar Khan, he's actually a convict. He's in jail for the 93 Bombay Blast case. Now, that kind of a person has no credibility, that kind of a statement, because, he's already in jail. So essentially, the ED is really not following his thing. But yes, where politicians are concerned, they said that we are being targeted, and, so that's a bit of a, it was a case that would have been thrown out in the sense that the ED is looking at everybody, not just politicians. So, but yes, I would agree that, where the ED is concerned, it's not following its own circulars, its own laws, the PMLA.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for breaking down these very detailed and complex stories for us. More details are in the articles which are on the Wire's website. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.